This Civic Media podcast is sponsored by UW Organ and Tissue Donation. Organ donations are desperately needed, and now is the right time to become an organ donor. Talk to your family. Get the dot. Save lives. Go to heroicdeed.com.
This is your WGBW Daily News Roundup for the Talk of Green Bay, 97.9 FM and 1590 AM.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. Things in Winnebago County got a little tense around 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon when sirens from the Winnebago County Emergency Management System were activated. These sirens weren't the normal tornado sirens. They were attack sirens that Winnebago County Emergency Management said, quote, "This is not a function of our system that we would use." Emergency Management said other warnings would be used in case of an attack and not those sirens. They added that the siren vendor determined the problem and told them how to avoid it happening in the future. 11 people were rescued from the ice in the Bay of Green Bay and Door County Friday after winds and open leads caused a crack that widened to up to 30 feet in under an hour, leaving them stranded. All 11 anglers were rescued with no injuries. Meanwhile, another ice rescue happened in Nassauwapee outside of Sturgeon Bay Friday. The Coast Guard is reminding all anglers that no ice is 100% safe and stepping over an ice crack is always dangerous. Next month, ThedaCare Medical Center Waupaca will be shutting down its labor and delivery unit. Friday, members of the Facebook group Save Our Waupaca Labor and Delivery protested in an effort to save the maternity services. The hospital claims labor shortages and an increase in complexities in maternity care have driven more people to use ThedaCare Nina to deliver their babies. ThedaCare has said the community pushback will not change their decision. The maternity unit at ThedaCare Waupaca is scheduled to close February 15th. The southern portion of Green Bay is officially closed to shipping traffic for the season. The U.S. Coast Guard closed down the area southwest of a line from Peshtigo Point to Sherwood Point to all commercial traffic this weekend. Wisconsin employment numbers hit new record highs to close out 2024. According to the Department of Workforce Development, the state ended the year with over 3,075,000 people working, an increase of about 32,000 over the December 2023 numbers. Unemployment numbers saw a slight increase from 2.9% in November to 3%, still well below the national average of 4.1%. In total, the state had a labor force participation rate of nearly 66%, higher than the national average of 62.5%. A Racine man has admitted to his role in a swatting operation that targeted Ring doorbell camera owners across the country. Stuart J. Waddles has the story.
The feds say back in November of 2020, Kaya Nelson placed hoax emergency calls to 911 and live-streamed the police response on social media. The week-long spree saw Nelson and his co-conspirators get access to victims' Yahoo email accounts and their linked Ring devices. Nelson faces a potential sentence of 15 years in federal prison.
In honor of National Radon Action Month, which is this January, the Wisconsin Department of Health Services is encouraging homeowners and schools to test their properties for radon. Radon is one of the leading causes of lung cancer in non-smokers and is a naturally occurring colorless and odorless gas. Health officials estimate 1 in 10 homes in the state have radon levels above EPA standards. DHS officials are also reminding residents that their local Radon Information Center may be offering reduced-cost test kits throughout this month. While salt can help to keep our roads safe in the winter, using too much of it can cause problems in our water supply. Melissa Kay has more.
January 27th through the 31st is Winter Salt Week.
It's a week where people from across the country raise awareness around both the problems of salt pollution in our lakes, streams, and drinking water, as well as a number of the salt reduction solutions that are out there.
That's Allison Madison, Program Manager with Wisconsin Saltwise. She said part of the education during Salt Week is helping those who deal with our roads understand the best ways to utilize salt.
First, really tackling snow and ice with mechanical tools. So getting out there and plowing as much snow as possible so that there's a lot less material left behind to potentially salt.
Madison said many municipalities are treating roads with salt brine before winter storms. She said that works like cooking spray, preventing the bond between the snow and the pavement, making it easier to remove. Because the salt is diluted, municipalities are able to reduce the overall amount of salt they use in a season.
Wisconsin residents will have an easier way to file their state taxes for free this year. According to the Wisconsin Department of Revenue, residents will be able to use the IRS direct file system for their state taxes after integrating the program with the WisTax state tax return platform. Taxpayers will be able to use the software to automatically import their W-2s and their 1099s into the system. The individual tax filing season begins January 27th, and residents can check their eligibility and register through the system on the IRS Direct File website. Infrastructure issues have held up the plan into forest, so now southeast Wisconsin looks to be getting the very first one. Stuart J. Waddles has more about the Buc-ee's Buzz.
Oak Creek officials will discuss the Buc-ee's project at a plan commission meeting Tuesday. The proposed 74,000 square foot convenience store and fueling station would be located on the southwest corner of I-94 and Elm Road. That's just north of the Milwaukee-Racine County line. The project, featuring 120 gas pumps and EV charging stations, faces 2 public hearings before a potential March vote. It could open in early 2027 if approved.
I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
The Chiefs beat the Bills. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs held on to beat the Bills 32-29. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes on having the chance to be the first team to win 3 Super Bowls in a row.
It's just so hard to get to the Super Bowl, and I don't take it for granted. And to be able to do it again at Arrowhead was special. I mean, last year it was awesome. You get there and you win it, but you're at a different stadium. And then being able to win it at Arrowhead, these moments that I'll have for the rest of my life.
Bills quarterback Josh Allen now being 0-4 in the postseason against Kansas City.
It's not fun, but to beat the champs, you gotta beat the champs, and we didn't do it tonight.
The Chiefs will face the Eagles on Sunday, February 9th in Super Bowl 59. College basketball, the Wisconsin Badgers beating Nebraska 83-55. Nebraska has now lost 6 in a row. NBA, the Bucks are in Salt Lake City tonight to take on the Utah Jazz inside the Delta Center. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Author Stephen King has provided a wealth of material to Hollywood filmmakers. One of his titles, 1987's The Running Man, was turned into a successful film decades ago and is now getting a remake. It's currently in production and stars Glenn Powell, Michael Cera, and Josh Brolin. Helming the project is director Edgar Wright, whose previous credits include Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. Fun fact, King initially published The Running Man under the name Richard Bowman. The story was originally set way in the future, 2025. Oh dear. The Grammys are right around the corner, and the producers of the show are putting on the finishing touches for the broadcast. Variety reports that the performers will include Chappell Roan, Sabrina Carpenter, and Charlie XCX. Trevor Noah is back to host the show, which has announced that some of the proceeds from the broadcast will go to those who lost their homes in the LA fires. The Grammys air February 2nd on CBS. If you're looking for a new hobby that requires almost absolutely no activity, consider Hurkle-Durkling. It's a centuries-old Scottish tradition. Hurkle-Durkling translates to the art of lazing in bed. The practice encourages people to stay in their pajamas and not get up. Most of us consider this being lazy or depressed, but if you use the phrase Hurkle-Durkle, it makes it sound more clinical. Still probably not an acceptable excuse for being late to work. Now, hotels are encouraging people to take a Hurkle-Durkle stay. Yes, by all means, go spend a few $100 a night to stay in bed and not do anything. Money well spent. Amy Schumer says she might actually be canceled after admitting to hooking up with a fan. She talked about the experience on the Call Her Daddy podcast, saying that a professional baseball player who was a huge fan visited her for a rendezvous in her hotel room one night. She goes into more detail on the podcast. Let's just say they did more than Hurkle-Durkle. Schumer's new comedy special, Kind of Pregnant, drops February 5th on Netflix. Really good actors are supposed to be fearless. Leonardo DiCaprio is typically one of them. That was not the case, though, on the set of Django Unchained. During a recent interview with Vanity Fair, Jamie Foxx recalled DiCaprio, who played a ruthless slave owner, had trouble saying words that were racial slurs, even though he was in character. According to Fox, Samuel Jackson put DiCaprio at ease, saying, like only Samuel Jackson can, "You can say that, mother." DiCaprio got the point. If you've got $150 million burning a hole in your pocket, consider purchasing Tom Brady's house. The amazing quarterback and mediocre commentator is selling his mansion in Miami. Don't worry, renovations are done, and they must have been doozies because he purchased the home in 2024 for 17 million smackers. Not many people pocket 133 mil on a sale. Anyone interested in pretending to be filthy rich and taking a tour? I'm in. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. Thickening clouds, couple of flurries or maybe a sprinkle this afternoon, and highs in the upper 30s. Partly cloudy, upper teens tonight, and partly sunny, warmer and low 40s tomorrow, but breezy. Mild for the rest of the week, 30s and 40s for highs, dry and partly cloudy. It's 24 right now.
That's your WGBW Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at WGBW.FM. The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.